If you've ever drawn boards using Photoshop or Sketchbook, you know how long it can take to create, name, and set up all your layers every time you start a new drawing. Now, it could take time in Storyboard Pro too, except that Toon Boom has figured out how to minimize the time it takes you to set up all your new panels. See, with Storyboard Pro, it's fast and easy to set up a default list of layers exactly the way you like to work. And every time you create a new scene, shot, or panel, the new panel will include all of the layers you set up as your default. Now, when you first install Storyboard Pro, every time you create a new panel, the default layers are like this. Let's add a new panel right after the one I have up here. So we'll go up here and add new panel. Notice the layers are set to A and BG. And if you worked at all in this software, you've seen that. And then you probably go through, it's like, oh, I have to build new layers every time. Well, guess what? You don't have to do that. As soon as I install the software, here's what I do. Go to the last panel. It's a blank panel. This is the way I like to organize it. I always put roughs or thumbnails at the bottom, background, tone, which is grays or colors, my ink layer, my foreground layer, arrows, and notes. Now, I prefer drawing in bitmap layers, so most of these are going to be bitmap layers. Arrows and notes, it doesn't really matter. I often keep those as vector layers. So once I have that set up, I want this to show up every time I make a new panel. So here's all you have to do. Go over to our layer drop-down menu, and at the very bottom, it says Set Layer Layout as Default, and select that. Now, let's make a new panel and watch what happens. New panel, and all of the layers pop up exactly the same. Now, it doesn't matter if you have drawings on any of those layers when you make them, because when you make a new panel, everything's going to show up blank. But here's a quick little tip for you. Notice that the notes layer is highlighted. Well, I like to have my roughs layer highlighted when I make a new one because that's what I'm always first sketching on. I want to move quickly. The reason notes layer was highlighted is because it was highlighted when I set the default. So tell you what, real quickly, now that we've got roughs highlighted, let's do that again. Layer, all the way down to set layer as default. And let's make a new panel. And look at that. My roughs layer is highlighted. So I can just come in and I can just real quickly start sketching again right away, and I can move forward. So you can see how setting up your layers as the default once will save you a huge amount of time as you're boarding. And you can spend more of your time drawing and not repeating all those monotonous tasks.